The science of human stupidity.
Have you ever pushed on a door that clearly in big, bold letters says, pull? Yeah, we've all been there. We've all had those moments that make us kind of pause and wonder about our own brilliance. But what if I told you these aren't just random glitches? There's actually a science to it.
It's one of those universal face-palming moments, isn't it? But here's the thing. What if these little errors aren't so random? What if they're actually a core part of our design?
So here's the good news. You're not actually stupid. The problem is that our brains, these amazing biological computers, are running on some seriously outdated software. I mean, it was designed for surviving out in the wild, not for navigating modern life. And because of that, it's just full of glitches and bugs that cause all these hilarious and, yeah, sometimes frustrating errors.
So let's run a diagnostic, shall we? We're going to pop the hood on the human brain and identify some of its most common and most interesting bugs.
Think of these cognitive biases less as flaws and more as, well, unexpected features. They're the shortcuts our brain takes to process an overwhelming amount of information. And the first one we're going to look at, oh, it's a classic.
Our first bug is one I like to call the echo chamber. This is where our brain loves the sound of its own voice, maybe a little too much.
The technical term is confirmation bias. It's our brain's natural tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information in a way that just confirms whatever we already believe. It's like having a mental filter that's always telling you, yep, you were right all along.
This really shows our brain's default setting. It actively seeks out agreement and tries to avoid conflict. It would much rather find that one single article that supports its opinion than read 10 that might challenge it. It's the path of least resistance, a nice, cozy comfort zone for our convictions.
And this is where we see it most often, the average online argument. You've got two people, both armed with their own set of facts, just shouting into the void, and neither one is actually listening. They aren't seeking truth. They're seeking validation. This is confirmation bias in its natural habitat, the internet comments section.
Okay, so our brains are wired to think they're right, but that leads to a really fascinating and, let's be honest, a slightly terrifying question. What happens when our confidence completely outstrips our actual competence? Well, that brings us to our second bug, a place many of us have probably visited without even realizing it. Welcome to the breathtaking vistas of Mount Stupid.
This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Essentially, researchers found that people with very little skill at something often overestimate how good they are at it. As the source material puts it, they are doubly cursed. Their lack of skill not only makes them bad at the task, but it also robs them of the ability to even recognize how bad they are.
And here it is, in all its glory. This image captures the idea perfectly. The person with the least knowledge is standing proudly right at the top of Mount Stupid, completely and blissfully unaware of the vast mountain of knowledge they haven't even begun to climb. They don't know what they don't know.
The great George Carlin summed it up beautifully. It's a sobering and hilarious thought that really highlights just how widespread these cognitive blind spots can be.
So we can be confidently wrong all on our own. But what happens when we outsource our thinking to the group? What happens when our desire to fit in starts to override our own judgment?
This is bug number 3, Lemming logic. It's that deep-seated instinct to just go with the flow, even if that flow is heading straight for a cliff.
Scientifically, this is called groupthink. It's what happens when the social pressure to conform in a group becomes so powerful that it just silences any kind of dissent or critical thinking. The desire for harmony actually overrides a realistic look at the alternatives.
And just how powerful is this? Well, in the famous Asch conformity experiments, a staggering 75% of participants knowingly gave a wrong answer at least once simply to avoid standing out from the group. That's the intense power of social pressure.
This slide just says it all. Following the crowd feels safe. You know, it feels right, but it requires you to trust that the crowd actually knows where it's going. And sometimes it really, really doesn't.
All right, let's move on to our final bug. This one is responsible for pretty much every single broken New Year's resolution in history. I call it the squirrel brain.
This is all about instant gratification. Our ancient software is wired for immediate survival. It sees a guaranteed small reward right now as way more valuable than a potentially bigger reward in the distant future. It's not thinking about retirement, it's thinking about the donut on the counter.
This is our inner squirrel in action. It hoards the immediate pleasure of a cookie instead of investing in the long-term payoff of good health.
That squirrel brain wants the nut now, and man, it is incredibly persuasive.
So, we've identified the bugs: the echo chamber, Mount Stupid, Lemming logic, and the squirrel brain. So, is our software just doomed? Not at all. It's time to install a patch.
And the patch is awareness. The research agrees the most effective antidote is simply knowing these bugs exist. So, for example, the next time you feel that satisfying little rush of finding an article that proves you right, just pause. That's confirmation bias. And then actively seek out one that disagrees. That's how you practice intellectual humility. It's about building the habit of questioning your own instincts, questioning your group, and questioning your desire for that immediate reward.
Ultimately, we all have this buggy software. It comes standard with being human, but accepting that and even laughing about it is the first real step towards thinking just a little bit smarter. So, I'll leave you with a question. What's your best glasses on your head story? We're all in this together.